Guys, gals, and non-binary pals, a summer vacation to Tracy Island here with Rhyme Signatures, the nerdiest music review this side of entrusting the security of the world against hostile nations to a nepotism-ridden family with a suspiciously undisclosed source of immense wealth. And today we're going to be doing a review of the new Mothman and the Thunderbirds album, Portal Hopper. You know, as the channel has grown, so too has the number of bands reaching out to little old me, asking me to check out their latest work, and, well, it might take me a little while to get to listening to something, and I don't always respond directly to any requests for reviews. I do still always listen to every single thing that is sent to me. And I remain eternally grateful that there are so many of you out there right now who see what I'm doing here as being worthwhile, and entrusting your incredible creations to me weeks or sometimes even months in advance. It's crazy, I tell you. But if there's one thing I've learnt about myself since I started getting promos, it's that I'm a sucker for a band with a fun and quirky name. Now, I'm as big of a fan of bands like Death, Ghost, Clutch, Behemoth, etc. as anyone else. But let's be real, those names aren't particularly catchy or interesting. So when a band by the eclectic moniker of Mothman and the Thunderbirds plopped up in my Gmail inbox, I certainly paid it a little bit more attention than I would have done otherwise if it was just called Jeff and his mates or whatever. So settle in, my dearies, I've been having a wonderful time with this record, and I want to tell you all about it before it releases officially on Friday the 12th of July 2024. Mothman and the Thunderbirds, despite the plurality of their namesake, remains ostensibly a one-man project, with the heavy lifting, songwriting, lead vocals, guitars, bass, synths, drum programming and everything else, including the kitchen sink, being handled by one Alex Parkinson, with a handful of extra duties being carried out by a select cadre of guests. Portal Hopper is Parkinson's second full-length album under the name Mothman and the Thunderbirds, the first being Into the Hollow, released back in 2021, and I've since gone back and listened to that one too, so as to give myself context as to how much he's grown as an artist since then. Now, while Mothman's debut lent quite heavily on bands like Mastodon for its influences, it wasn't without a healthy dose of its own flavour and attitudes, an aspect which I am very thankful has translated perfectly to this new album. Except now we're following the guidelines set down by my favourite Canadian of all time, Mr. Devin Townsend. Now, while I certainly enjoyed Mothman's debut album, the leap forwards in terms of songwriting, production, creativity, and just sheer bravado on Portal Hopper compared to Into the Hollow has truly marked out Mothman as one of the more interesting independent artists within the modern prog metal scene, and I can envisage truly spectacular things coming our way from the mind of Alex Parkinson if he can keep this step up in momentum going. So, let's talk shop a little bit. What's this album all about, and what kind of person is going to get the most out of this? As you could probably surmise from the eclectic band name and colourful artwork, this is very major key, immediate, front-loaded music. There's a great sense of fun and quirkiness to the whole dang thing. And it's impossible to get very far into any of the songs on Portal Hopper without a satisfied grin starting to spread slowly across your face. This feels very much cut from a similar cloth to Devin Townsend's Ziltoid the Omniscient, but kind of with, I don't know, Gen Z vibes, if that makes any sense. You know, I kind of mean that in a very positive way. There's lots of short, sharp, punchy tracks on offer here. Nothing goes over the 5-minute mark, and the vast majority of the songs on this album sit at around the sort of 2.5 to 3.5 minute long range, which makes for a record made up of rapid-fire, high-octane numbers that don't sit around for a second. There's very little wasted time on Portal Hopper. Every moment on this record features something to make you sit up and pay attention to. From the funk-laden bass grooves of Fractals, the addictive chorus of So Long Portal Hopper, the slow burn atmospherics of Akashic Records, or the relentless bubblegum positivity of Squonk Kingdom. There is a huge amount of variety of sounds to be found across the album's relatively brief 38-minute runtime. Now, what I appreciate most about this record is how warm and familiar it sounds to artists like Devin Townsend, but it's still very distinct to Mothman. The opening track of Ruby Skies, for example, does an amazing job of blending Epic Loud's massive walls of sound with the intensity of Astronoid's earliest work to make for a fusion that's as hooky and engaging as it is immediate, and it's a heck of a good way of setting the stage for the rest of the album. Parkinson's vocals are a standout for me, especially feeling not entirely dissimilar to Mike Baker of Shadow Gallery, with these little flourishes of Max Mowbray from Others by No One, as well as Devin Townsend himself, and maybe just a little bit of a dash of Brent Hinds of Mastodon thrown in there as well for good measure. But it's how well and how fluently that Parkinson can modulate and adapt his voice across the album's flow, peaks, and valleys that I enjoy the most, as he showcases a fantastic sense of versatility and nuance on almost every single song. Now, he's no slouch on instrumentation either, and for as short as the tracks on Portal Hopper are, there's plenty of scope for creativity and daring to try different things. Whilst there's a great running thread across the album thematically, it's how well each individual track stands out instrumentally that I get a real kick out of. The spooky synths on Flatwood's Monster are an early highlight, as are the punky vibes on Liminal Spacetime Continuum. This is an album that does a tremendous job of keeping you guessing, as there's no real predicting what's going to come next, as we hop from mood to mood, feeling to feeling, making for an album that comes across as equal parts hyperactive, but still managing to stay grounded in the reality of what it is looking to achieve thematically. So, yeah, the part I never like doing, especially to smaller artists, because frankly it always feels like being kicking a puppy when I talk about parts that didn't really work for me as much. But at the end of the day, these are just my thoughts, and the negative points from one bearded nerd on the internet shouldn't be taken as gospel. Now, my main takeaway in terms of negativity on this album is that I do wish at times that Parkinson would let certain ideas and themes on the album breathe and develop for a little bit longer. For as much as the punchiness and immediacy afforded by the truncated song lengths can be a benefit for the most part, I am ultimately a man who appreciates when a song's ideas are allowed the space to grow and develop organically, to move beyond the constraints of a short running time, to make for music that feels like it's, given the opportunity to truly come alive. And I personally feel that a lot of the songs on this album do fall down a bit in that respect. We jump from riff to riff, style to style, theme to theme, and it's all a little bit dizzying at times with its intensity. I personally feel that for once the album could benefit from being a good 15 minutes longer, stretching out some of the more interesting passages and ideas on some of these tracks to allow some of the more creative and thought-provoking instrumental sections to have the scope to become, more than a quick flash in the pan and then it's gone. It is a minor gripe though, really, and more indicative of my patience as I've been getting older. I like my music like I like my wine, decanted and given time to breathe before allowing it to sit on my palate for an extended period of time. Other than that though, it's safe to say that this album still hit me pretty damn hard. And I'll be real with you all, I've been struggling to put this one down. In the time that Mothman has entrusted me with this album prior to its release, I've listened to this, maybe a good dozen times so far, I think, at least. And my minor gripes with that album are precisely that. They're extremely minor. But in the interests of legitimate music criticism, I still have to at least look at things from a subjective manner to make it look like I'm actually knowing what I'm doing here. So, what else can I possibly say about Mothman and the Thunderbirds' Portal Hopper? The promo roulette is always an interesting game. I've had albums that have lit my world on fire, albums that have passed directly by me with nary but a whisper, and I've had albums that I've wanted to tell literally everyone in the country about. I've had albums that could very well end up in my best of all time list in the future. And then there's Portal Hopper. A record that's made me smile like an idiot more times than anything else I've listened to this year so far. To describe this album in a single word is extremely easy. Fun. It is pure bubblegum entertainment from start to finish. There's very few duff tracks to be found here. Even those that don't go as hard as the others are over and done before you've even had a chance to feel a crumb of disappointment. And then before you know it, you're bobbing your head and finding it impossible to sit still as Parkinson throws another eclectic, infectious riff right down your lug holes. Mothman and the Thunderbirds have left an indelible mark on me with what can easily be described as the most summer vibes progressive metal album of the year. This is a great fun, easily digestible album to throw on during barbecue season. It's quick, it's sharp and punchy, and it's all too easy to just press play over and over again. I would thoroughly recommend grabbing this one in physical format, guys. Parkinson has clearly put a lot of himself into this one, and this kind of creative passion project deserves all the love in the world that we can possibly give it. Thank you once again for reaching out to me, Alex. You've made this withered old fart smile again with this one. This is all, of course, guys, just my opinion, so please do check this one out when it comes out on July the 12th, and let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. Please do drop me a thumbs up if you like this video. Please do tell your friends about me. And please do drop me a subscription if you've been enjoying my own particular inimitable style of music review. And until next time, guys, as always, keep your rhyme signatures pretty odd.